Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana community interview here on the Inkwell Lounge. I'm your host, Chris, aka Questing for Lore, and in this week's episode, I got a chance to sit down with voice actor, DLC caster, and all around huge Lorcana fan, Brent Mukai. We spent some time chatting about how he got into Lorcana, his experience as a full-time voice actor, and his time as an official caster for the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Richmond and some other events. Sound interesting? Let's get to it. Well, hey, Brent, how's it going?
It's going great.
Good. Thanks for sitting down with me and taking some time to chat tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you're a super busy guy with all the various stuff that you do, Lorcana and otherwise. So, we'll get to that stuff here after a little bit. But so one of the first things that I like to do when I talk to people is kind of get their origin story with the Lorcana.
Okay.
So tell me, how did you get into it? Where did you find out about it? And how much has it taken over your life since then?
Okay, so it was day one. It was literally the first day of stores, or I guess more aptly, I guess it was a Saturday. It was the Saturday. So they released big box stores on Friday, chapter
Okay.
one. It's rainy on literally the next day, Saturday. My wife is like, "Hey, you've been talking about this that you mentioned that there was like a Disney trading card game. I wonder if it came out." We looked it up. We were like, "Oh, it came out already." I knew about it, strangely
Yeah.
enough, from if you watched any of this last Ghent DLC, Ross. Wazzy Plays was back. Wazzy Plays. I love that guy. Was watching him for like One Piece content because I love One Piece. Big
Okay.
anime fan. Was getting into it and just couldn't find like an easy way to learn how to play and like actually do well at it. And I don't come from like a massive TCG background.
Okay.
But yeah, I was watching his collector series stuff and he kept on talking about this new Disney trading card game that might blow up and blah blah blah, and it's coming soon. So I was aware of it. So I was like, yeah, you know what? It's rainy today, whatever. Let's just go find a store that has it and, buy a couple starter decks and some packs or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything sold out.
Yeah.
Everything was all
I
gone.
was gonna
There was
say,
nothing to
how'd
be
that
found.
go?
It was
Yep.
awful. The one place was this like little sports card shop that's more sports and memorabilia and all that stuff. And they were doing the, pay 35 per deck for a $16 deck or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. Let's just do it. We're here. Like they said, we have the decks. I didn't know what the cost was, so I was like, all right, it'll be what it'll be. Bought the two starter decks and yeah, played the game. Wasn't sure what it was going to be like, but I played a little bit of Magic and Magic the arena before you had to pay, like the alpha. My friend got me into it, so I was aware of like certain mechanics. I was like, okay, very similar stuff. And yeah, and it started just like that. My wife and I playing and me being like, wow, this is actually really fun. Like this is intuitive, it's extremely fun, and it's not like I don't know. It wasn't like the One Piece card game where it sometimes felt like a little more complicated to play, or I was a little less familiar with those mechanics, right? Like I was never a Pokemon guy. I believe
Okay.
that it is pretty similar, like the prizes and the prize cards and that sort of structure. So it just never clicked with me. But this one sort of immediately I sort of understood and was like, oh, okay, cool. And my wife and I just played with those starter decks for a while, met some people that were playing and had like gotten cards like before us. And I was always really jealous of that they had known and we missed it by literally like one day or I guess 2 weeks if people had known about it before then in their local game stores. But yeah, that was the origin.
All right, cool. So what was one of the first things that kind of drew you to it? Was it that it was more on the Disney side? Was it that you were looking for something a little bit easier or simpler than One Piece? Or was it just like, hey, this looks kind of cool, I think I'm gonna jump in?
I got to give credit to my wife. She's a big Disney fan.
Oh,
Like
okay.
not that I'm not a Disney fan, like who grew up not watching, all the Disney classics and whatever. But in my adult life, I was a lot less Disney, and I was a lot more anime sort of focused.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife was like, "Yeah, this Disney game seems like it might be cool. Let's give it a try." And I was like, "All right, yeah." If she puts up with me buying a bunch of these boxes of One Piece, then let's just check out what this game is like. I had zero idea. And then what attracted me the most was I loved the game. The
Mm-hmm.
game itself was so fun. I thought that the way that they had laid it out was like extremely cool. So, yeah.
All right, so the big question is, as far as your budget, how much has shifted over to Lorcana away from One Piece?
I don't collect One Piece anymore.
Oh,
I can't focus on
yeah,
two games like
yeah.
that.
Well, and the financial aspect of two different TCGs is probably not great either. So
Absolutely insane. In fact, I've sold off a lot of my One Piece so that I can buy more Lorcana stuff that I want.
that's the way to go. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah. So do you consider yourself more of like a casual? I know you're saying you play a lot with your wife and everything. More on the casual side or competitive side or somewhere in between or what?
Um I think of myself as like a solid. I think at my best when I have the time to really understand like what the other decks are doing, and
Mhm.
then I think I'm like a B plus player. I struggle to call myself a competitive player because I think that I've watched enough people play enough lines and see things that I would never see like ever, right?
Mhm.
I've listened to many different ideologies on how to get better, what that grind is like to be a truly like A plus competitive player, like somebody who could top eight a DLC, or win a DLC, right? And I just don't think that that appeals to me as much. I don't think that that like level of grind and play. I think that the game becomes less fun to me. Now,
Mm.
will I go out and try to win set champs? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that I'm good enough to win set champs. I think I'm good enough to play at my locals. I think that I don't think that I'm a bad player, but I'm somewhere in between. I'm definitely not
Okay.
casual. I do love the competitive spirit of the games. If I'm going out to like a one case, two case, quad case tournament, or even some of the money tournaments that I've gone to, um, I'm typically going with the expectation that I'm going to play to win and
Mhm.
try to show up in tip top form, whatever that is for me. Um, and yeah, like I don't feel like I have enough time to dedicate to become like an A plus player, but I think being a B plus player is fine by me. Like I think
Nice.
I'm fine with where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah. No, I honestly, I'm right there with you. I hear about all these folks that like they spend like hours and hours each night, or tons of time going through these lines, really working the decks, practicing with every other possible deck that's out there. And not even just like the guys on competitive teams or anything like that. Just normal players that just sit down at a DLC and then all of a sudden they've won the thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, the
Um,
Zach Bivens playing with yourself, like
yeah.
trying out every single deck and playing the lines against yourself to figure out what the best lines are, and
Hmm.
understanding all the different decks fundamentally. Like that's real work. Like that's real
Oh yeah.
serious work. Like understanding the math. I was watching Jonathan Lamb when he was oh God, was it Singapore? I want to say it was Singapore
Mm.
in the finals. And he's doing his altar, and he's just like counting something out, and he's counting something on his fingers as he's doing his altar on one card, figuring out percentages, I'm assuming, of what the chances are if he shuffles back this card of getting the card that he needs, some real Frank Karsten type stuff.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's like I don't know what he was counting. I'm dying to ask him if I see him. Um but I just don't care about the math that much to eke out those edges. I've played a fair amount of poker in my life, and I really do enjoy the game of poker. But understanding that I'm not going to go to the WSOP with huge, ideas of winning. Like I don't want to get my money in if I think I can't be competitive enough to at least, rumble with the top players. So
Yeah.
that's sort of the idea.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it's really fun to have a game where we can kind of, play at our skill level or whatever skill level we want to play at and still have fun. It's not required
Mhm.
that you like dump all this time into it and really work hardcore on this stuff to actually enjoy the game. I hear like people, it sounds like we're kind of on the same wavelength here. We enjoy the game, we enjoy being competitive, but we're not gonna, get out there and win DLCs, that kind of thing. Um, but there's also people that like literally they just play sitting around, their kitchen table and they enjoy it, and that's great. So it's nice. Like I said, it's nice to have a game where all these different skill levels can come together and actually enjoy, playing with each other, learning from each other. I think that's another huge aspect of it as well, is actually being able to talk to these other players, the ones that do win the DLCs, the ones that, are creating content out there, and actually learning from them to try to figure out, oh, okay, I'm playing a similar deck. They said this, they recommended using this particular play line. You use that at locals. Cool. That it works out. So it's always interesting, to see different perspectives and different people. We've got so many people in the community that have come from other card games as well. And, a lot of those skills just transfer over. So,
Yeah, for sure.
you know. So, okay. So you mentioned anime earlier.
Mhm.
So I do want to get into first one of the huge parts of your life, obviously. And I mean, I know Lorcana is the biggest part of your life, so we'll just accept that. But you are a voice actor,
Mhm.
and you have been doing it for a while now. How long do you think you've been doing it, like professionally?
Um 2017 I was able to at the end of 2017 I was able to quit my day job, and I haven't
Nice.
looked back, fortunately. Um and that was commercials and e-learning and like all of the corporate type of stuff, and then
Yeah.
the goal was always get into the stuff that I really like, which is the cartoons and the anime and the video games, what have you. And that I kind of got started in around 2020.
Okay. All right. So I guess the whole COVID thing was probably, just normal business for you. You were just already there and had the everything ready to go, right?
Well, it was actually hugely beneficial to me because
Mm.
until that point, LA, New York, Dallas, a lot of the big hubs of where the character type work is and was found, um was in those cities and in
Okay.
those states, and it was closed off. Like there was no, like, all the character, like, commercials was all online basically for
Mhm.
for the last 10 to 15 years. It had been that way, because commercials are based around speed and money and all of that stuff. So they're like, oh well, a voice actor has their own home studio. So I was in Vegas at the time, not one of the hubs of
Yeah.
any of the creative charactery stuff. But when COVID hit, everything obviously went online, and that provided an opportunity for me. And I maxed out like all of the money I had been saving because I thought that I was going to have to drive out and or take buses out to Los Angeles to lay groundwork for myself so that it would make sense to move there.
Mm.
I'm a very practical, or at least at the very least, I try to be a very practical guy. Um and right at the end of 2019 I was actually doing that. So for about 5 or 6, somewhere between 5 and 10 times between like November of 2019 until March of 2020, I was out like every week or every other week, just catching a mega bus out to LA, and then catching the subway, and then catching an Uber to the thing, and then catching an Uber back to
Gosh.
the subway to get back on the bus literally l- like right after the class was over at like 10 p.m. sometimes. So then I'm catching a bus back, and it's, 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever by the time I get back. And then I do my full day of work and doing all that. So when
Ugh.
2020 March hit, I fully invested all of the money that I had saved up until that point for classes and for travel, and said, I'm just going to put it all into classes now. Made all the relationships. Um, I mean, obviously got all of the skills and experience from doing that.
Yep.
But I was basically doing about anywhere in the ballpark of about 5 to 10 classes a week.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and it would, I mean, under normal circumstances, it might not have been sustainable. But the thing was that as I was doing it, what I started realizing was I was starting to make progress in my career and get jobs and form relationships. And that sort of became the crux and backbone of it. So for about a year and a half to 2 years, I was hitting it around that hard of 5 to 10 classes a week, just being in there, getting with the people. Um, they say it's about who you know, right?
Yeah.
It's about how good you are at the crossroads of who you know. So I was like, well, time to invest everything in myself and get to know everybody and have everybody get to know me.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I have no doubt. I mean, it's like I'm sure it's like anything else, like especially in the entertainment industry, it is very much who you know, and you could be the best actor in the world, and if nobody knows who you are, then, you're just kind of stuck. But
And the best part is I mean, you can save up all your money, get really, really good, and then put yourself in front of everybody for a cost. But I mean, nowadays the online classes are like supreme. Like nobody wants to leave their home anymore now that they see how how they can just teach from their laptop once they're done. They don't have to drive. They can just
yeah.
go have the rest of their night.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's massive amounts of opportunity in a way that there was not pre 2020. And I just happened to be set up in the exact right spot to take advantage of it all. And saw the line, saw the play line for me to achieve my dreams, and put all of my money, time, and effort into it.
Nice. Nice. And for those that are listening to the audio version of this, Brent is currently in a recording booth with all of his stuff. That's why he sounds so amazing on his
You sound
professional.
great too. I'm not gonna lie, you sound great.
Well, yeah. I've tweaked it a little bit, but yeah. So I'm always curious. I'm like a gear nerd. What mic you running?
It's the most generic voice actor mic of all time. It's like every pro has the TLM 103. It's called a Neumann.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
think I've seen that one.
yeah, it's dumb. I hate that everybody loves this mic, but after a certain point, everybody's like, "Well, you gotta use the good mic," and it's like, okay, whatever. I guess I'll cave. And the casting director said, "Yeah, you should use that mic instead of the one you're using." Because I owned it, but I thought my voice sounded better on this other mic. It's a whole
Hmm.
thing. And I was
Okay.
like, well, I'll trust the person who casts people like me for a living
Yeah.
on what mic to use. So I've been
Yeah.
using it ever since, but I do feel like a sellout every time.
Well, don't. You sound really good. So,
Thank you.
um,
Thank you.
so I'm curious. When you were first starting out,
Mhm.
what did your setup look like? I mean, obviously, you probably weren't all boothed up and everything like you are now. What did you start off with?
I started out with PVC pipe, built a big frame square, um, and then hung up a combination of moving blankets, a couple soundproof, not soundproof. There's no such thing as a soundproof blanket,
Yeah.
but sound acoustic treatment blankets that were thicker,
Hmm.
and then old down comforters that I had, in order to isolate the the sound of echoes and all that stuff. And
Yep.
I was rocking that until about 2021. So like I was
Okay.
5 years into my career, so or 4 years, 4 or 5 years into my career before I actually said, you know what, I'm going to get a studio. And then I got a little booth, because um we moved to Burbank, where all of the stuff was. Once stuff was coming out of pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
I had made all the relationships and people started opening back up the studios and being like, "You're coming in, right?" And I was like, "Yep." So took about 20 flights or so before the wife, now girlfriend then, and I said, "You know what? I think it's time. We've been discussing that at a certain point we'll probably have to move over there for my career." And we did that in 2022, 2023, 2022, I believe. Um, and we were right underneath the Burbank Airport flight path. So
No. Oh
yeah,
no.
the sound blankets and stuff weren't going to cut it. So
Yeah.
got a booth. That one was too big when we moved into a new place. So I sold that one and then got this little one, and I missed the space of that other one so much. But this one is a technically super studio, like super voice actor standard booth that I got at a really good deal because some guy was selling his booth and getting out the game. So
All right. Hey,
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
exactly.
Some of that stuff gets really pricey. I mean, not just, the equipment like the mics and everything, but I'm sure all the
Extraordinarily.
other, yeah, I can't imagine. That's crazy.
People blow it all the time by um going out and buying stuff before they're at a skill level or before they are at a career level that it makes sense to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is for anybody who's out there. Don't go buy the shiniest new thing, and don't be the guy, don't be the guy with a $10,000 tennis racket that's custom made, but you've never
Yeah.
played tennis before. Figure out that you really want to play tennis
Yep.
before you invest in a really great racket.
Yep. And I've seen people do that too. I mean, they go all in and they're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then reality sets in and it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Practicality, man.
Yeah.
Practicality wins.
Yeah.
It's boring, but it wins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these days, do you largely do anime or do you kind of split between, you mentioned some of the kind of corporate-y kind of stuff. Do you do much of that anymore?
At this point, I've basically crossed off the bingo card of I think every kind of voice acting there is. Like,
Okay.
and the ones that I do the most of nowadays are games, just because games tend to be older sounding people and I have a deeper voice.
Right.
Anime tends to live in a place of a lot of high schools, right? A lot of high schoolers. Not a lot of high schoolers sound like me, and I could, but many people don't think of me that way. So that's interesting. It's not so I don't do as much anime as some of my younger sounding, peers. A lot of games, a lot of I still do the commercials and e-learning stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But games and live action dubs, which is like television shows, movies from Korea or Sweden or, wherever, Japan, wherever it is, when they dub, like I was in Squid Game, right? I was one of the voices in Squid Game. That's a live action dub. So there's
Nice.
tons and tons of that stuff on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and yeah, so that's another large chunk because there's so much foreign media that's flooding the US marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the business model, buy a bunch of franchises on the cheap and then just keep pushing them out. One of them will be a hit and then double down on that. So, yeah, lot of work there that I am grateful to have.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm sure there's no shortage of it. And you probably have quite a list. I'm sure.
It's growing. It's crazy
Yeah.
to think, but it's happened quite fast for me.
Nice. Hey, it's a good problem to have, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so now I want to talk a little bit about something that's kind of adjacent to that. And I am curious. So you've been casting several events and DLCs on the Lorcana side.
Mhm.
Was it that your voice acting kind of led into that? Or was that more of like an isolated kind of thing where you just like either you reached out or they reached out, or however it happened, that you were just like, hey, I want to do this, and then they were like, oh, he's a voice actor, that's cool too,
Yeah,
but
it
not
was
directly
all
related.
absolutely. It was all by design. Like after really sitting with myself and questioning what I wanted out of Lorcana, and like, is there anything else I want to do with it? I would watch the DLCs that first season and just be like, "Oh, that's what I want to do."
Nice.
If I'm going to do anything in this game, I don't think I want to go to every single DLC and play this grueling thing. I played in Vegas. I top 64'd in Vegas. Like, that was incredible. That was awesome. It was so much luck that happened, and I knew plenty of phenomenal players that I believe to be much better than me in skill level that did not make it. So I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, this was a great Cinderella story. This was fun. This was amazing. But I really sat with myself and asked myself the question, like, what do I want out of this? Like, at the end of the day, is there anything that I would want more? And I just realized that casting would incorporate everything that I've done up until this point, all my performance based stuff, all my love of the game of Lorcana. And I'm a guy that always thinks, if there's something that I like, is there a way to motivate myself to make a job out of it, like, and find a
Okay.
way to make my fun things, like things that I could be doing also to get paid. And like,
Yeah.
I just, and that felt like something that I could contribute to. That space felt like, oh, okay, yeah. And they didn't, I still don't think that there's anybody really like me within that space, which made me go, I think I represent a niche that would help these broadcasts also. So I think that
Hmm.
that would be great. So I started signing up for the LCCC events put on by Pavel. Shout outs, Pixelborn Connect and
Yep.
all of the great stuff that dude has done for absolutely free, and, raised money for charities. And
Hmm.
um, yeah. So once that went out and was like, hey, anybody want to do this stuff for the love of the game? I was like, yeah, that'll be great experience. I can meet new people. That'll be incredible. And then my first one ever was with Baker, Lorcana Villain,
Oh, nice.
and we just riffed together. It was awesome. I knew Sailor because he had coached my wife a little bit. And I knew Frank Karsten because who doesn't know Frank Karsten in this
Yep.
side of the game. And it was just so much fun, and it was exactly what I thought it would be. um I had a blast, and I said, I want to keep doing this. I want to get into, some of the local events and do some local event casting. Got lucky enough to do one of those, and it's just a building blocks, right? Like, how
Yep.
do you build up to the thing that you want to do? That was the unique goal, and I was loud and vocal about it. By the start of the second season, like, all of the casters knew who I was. I knew who they were. Like, we'd shaken hands. I'd ask them, like, what can I be doing? Like, I'm super interested in getting there. They all said, like, their own different, like, things, and I went and did all of those things. And then when Richmond was coming up, I got hit up, and I was like, no way. I still thought I was much further away from my goals. Like, I
Hmm.
thought that I was maybe season 3, maybe season 4, we could start talking. But the universe all came together, and yeah, I was very vocal out to the universe. I want to do this casting stuff, and I think that I'm pretty good at it. So it all came together, and I got
Yeah.
asked to do Richmond, and now I'm an official DLC caster, which is still crazy to me to
Yep.
think that it happened this fast.
Yeah. Well, you do a great job. I love the energy that you bring to the to the game and to the overall cast as well. I
Thank you.
felt like because you did. Let's see. Besides Baker, you casted with, was it Zebex? I kind of forget who you did it with at Richmond.
Oh yeah, Zebex was there,
Yeah.
Katie, Rebecca, um I'm forgetting one other person. Who am I forgetting right now?
Well, Liam, but
Liam, of
yeah,
course, Liam. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that was the
yeah.
crew of 6.
So I'm curious, when you're at the event and when you are, you're getting ready to head over to the mic and everything, do you have like anything you do to kind of get yourself psyched up, or any kind of pre-game kind of thing that you do?
Not really. I just do some stretches. Just do some stretches, hop around a little bit if I'm feeling
Yeah.
a little lethargic or if it's early and I'm still waking up. But yeah, not any big thing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So preparing for casting, did you like the first couple of times, I guess, what did you do to kind of really, I guess, practice for it all? I know some people can just like hop in and start talking about the game, and you do strike me as somebody that can do that. But I also know there's some people that, they have to sit down, they have to practice, they have to, learn from other commentators on, the most effective, vocal intonation and how to handle silence and all that kind of stuff.
For me, it was mostly just making sure that I understood the game fundamentally. From a performance aspect, I was not nervous at all. I was like, yeah,
Okay.
this is just like anything else I've ever done. Like, you know, when you've gone up and done a stand-up comedy show and it's just you and it's 11:30 p.m. at night and there's two people in the audience and one of them looks up at you and says, "You're not funny." Um Nothing really phases you after that.
Yeah.
Not really. Like,
Yeah.
you still get nervous about certain things or certain whatevers, but once the camera's on, it's like, dude, I've I've been now performing for more than half of my life, and I hope this doesn't come across as cocky, but it's like anything else. Like if you've done a job for 20 years, um, then showing up to do that same job but in a different office probably isn't going to make you nervous or you're going to know the
Yep.
basics of what to do.
Yep.
So for me, the study was I need to make sure that I really know the play lines. I need to make sure I know these cards. I was reading a lot of guides on dogs. I was reading a
Hmm.
lot of guides on Emerald Sapphire. I had a decent hunch that Emerald Sapphire might take the whole thing, and it was positioned really well if it could get through the dogs. So yeah, and then knowing all of the cards, all of the meta cards, and then once you know all of the meta cards, right, you really want to study like all of the cards that you might see that maybe aren't so meta, right? You wanna
Hmm.
you wanna know the Ruby Amethyst builds, right? You need to know Lumiere, right? You need to know like what because the last thing you want to do is be thrown for a loop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
knowing the variations of the decks, knowing how they work and operate, like I need to know it, not just know it well, but I need to know it well enough to be able to explain it to somebody who might be watching and they don't know that much about Lorcana yet,
Yeah.
or the kids are watching and I need to be able to break it down in that way. So as much as of the performer side of me, I took the cards and everything very, very seriously because I also knew that people, as a new kid on the block, people would be, looking at me under a magnifying glass saying, "Who's this guy?" And I wanted to prove like, yeah, not only can I perform and do all of the be funny and have all the improv and stand up and all of those skills in my back pocket, but I also really know this game and I can
Hmm.
talk about it intelligently enough for someone who doesn't know the game and somebody who deeply knows the game.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, fair enough. It's always interesting to watch the streams and see you guys, you casters. Like every once in a while, there is something that like throws you for a loop, and and it's kind of nice for, I guess, us watching. That it's like, okay, even these people that are the professionals that are out there doing the casting that are supposed to know all this stuff, sometimes they don't have it either. It just
Yeah.
happens.
Hey, hey, bumbling rooster. Didn't know what that was. Now I'll
Yep.
never forget it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. No, that's really cool. I have the utmost respect for you casters that, that can sit there and think on your feet like that and be able to, come up with stuff. And like I said, fill the silence, because sometimes there is, like a gap where the player's sitting there thinking and, you don't really have anything else to talk about. So you try to fill the time with something else. And, I imagine that's just a skill you develop over time, but yeah, that's it's really impressive to me, I have to say. So
Yeah, I mean, for me, like that's why I really wanted to know the lines, and I
hmm
played a lot of games with a lot of the different decks as well, so that when you're sitting there and the players are thinking, I can at the very least venture a guess as to what they're thinking and talk
yeah,
about that, so that there's never it's like, well, I think that he's thinking about this. There's probably these different play lines. You have this or this, and I wonder what the best one once you gain that level, it becomes a lot more exciting as well. Like
hmm
that's the other portion of it.
yeah. So I'm curious, is there one of the casters that you just really like clicked with, that you really felt like, you kind of meshed really well with their style and they with yours?
Probably Baker. Like off that
Okay.
first one, I was like, yeah, this is fun. I'm just hanging out with a guy who loves the game also. Like we were just chilling, just like going back and forth over it. And that was really my first foray into all of it. Like what a lucky like stars aligning moment
hmm
of that to happen. And yeah, I mean Frank played this crazy line using the Simba Pride Protector. That
Yeah.
was a new card. It set 6 at the time, Azurite Sea, and he had done this like bodyguard Simba shift line onto the Simba to re-ready all his stuff, won the game, and me and Baker were freaking out, like just like we both understood like what that moment was and how what an insane play it was for Frank to find. So yeah, um off rip, like that's who comes to mind because that was literally the first guy that I ever did it with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, that's a heck of a first person, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if you had one piece of advice to give to somebody who wanted to kind of get into casting, that maybe doesn't have the background that you have, what would that one piece of advice be?
Find opportunities to do it.
Okay.
Find opportunities to do it, put it out there, be loud about it. Let people know that it's something you want to do. Look for any opportunities that you might find, right? Like um there's fan based like leagues like the LCCC, like the
Mhm.
ICL, right? You can reach out to these people, figure out who's doing it. It's most of those are all online. Um and just reach out, look for opportunities, be a part of the community, let people know so that they can let you know that this stuff is happening, right? Like
Yep.
it all boils back down to community, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, so be loud about it so people know that you're interested in it, and then find every opportunity you can to do it and put yourself out there. Then make a reel out of it, and then keep pushing from there.
Nice. Nice. Did you have any particular resources or any like courses that you found super helpful for that kind of thing, or was that still just more on the voice acting side?
I hit up Spessy, Joe Curly Card, shout out. Because he had a Metafy. I don't know if he still does or not, but he was
Mhm.
offering like coachings and stuff like that. And I was like, well, here is a DLC caster. Let me pay him his 50 quid or whatever for an hour so I can ask him how to better do all this stuff. And he gave me a lot of great tips and advice and things that I maybe hadn't thought of because he had more casting experience than I did, even though I have tons and tons of performative stuff. I knew that there was special stuff that some of the better casters were doing, that I wanted a shortcut and ideas on how to improve my game of that. And yeah, he was supremely helpful. I mean, even something as simple as like, if there's a face cam, talk about what, like comment on if a player makes a face or something, like, that's important stuff. Look at this wry smile that he has as he's playing the genie, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Like all of that.
Nice. So then the real question is, when is your Metafy coming?
I don't think there's enough people who want to do casting. I don't think I'd set up a Metafy. You know what? If this gets where is this going to be posted?
YouTube and podcast.
Okay, leave your podcast comments or YouTube comments if you really want a casting Metafy, but I just don't think enough people care about it. I just don't think enough people care that it would be worth it for me to write that all out, but or offer lessons. God forbid. I don't. Yeah. So I definitely think I could help people, but I just don't think that there's enough interest.
All right. Fair enough. So I'm curious, in all the events that you've been a part of, either as a player or as a caster, or in between, I guess. What has been kind of your favorite moment in the community? Asking the hard questions.
Moment in the community. My favorite moment in the community. Let's see.
We can narrow it down. You can just say as a caster. Let's say that. Let's start there.
As a caster, man, I mean, there's just so many great ones. I think as a caster, one of my favorite things was being able to select people for my draft.
That's right.
And talk about people, that I knew or am familiar with. Being able to talk about the SoCal scene, because I know a lot of people. I've played with a lot of these guys. It's a lot of the same faces that you see over and over and over again, who maybe don't put up the same records, right, of DLC run records, and that seems to be the metric for 99% of people, and rightfully so, myself included in that, for who's best, who's world class and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to, like, I just did the Glimmer Games, and it was just amazing to be able to, as a caster, be like, I know this guy, I've played with this guy, he has beaten me so many times, and get a little of that perspective out there. So I'm also very blessed to be a part of such a large community out here in SoCal, but also be a representative of SoCal, where a lot of other casters might be like, who is that? And it's like, oh no, this guy is a crusher. He was, he was on the bubble for Worlds, right? Guys like Matthew Okamoto, who like nobody knows. But he played, I believe he LCQ'd his way in last season and made it to top 16.
Nice.
But like nobody remembers who made it to top 16.
Yeah.
Right? Of Worlds. Nobody remembers who didn't make it to Worlds. They remember this. They say this is the Worlds qualified player. This is a, Nats qualified player. But like, to make it to top 16 in a field that strong is absolutely impressive. He's a guy that I've seen all over the place. I've never played him personally, thank goodness, because I think he would crush me. But he's a crusher, man. He just goes to all these things, and I see him in all of the store, like 1Ks and 5Ks and like quad cases, and he's always there. He's always in the top cut, man. So, like guys like that, guys like Sean Lung that people forget about. Number 2 at Seattle DLC to Wonderland, and then went on to top 8 in the at nationals, and take it to Worlds. So it's cool to to be able to shout that out, that's probably my
Yeah.
favorite part about being a caster is I'm the only one really from SoCal who knows so many of these players. So I can spread that love around.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool to have that aspect. It feels a little more personal, right? It's not just, oh, I'm just talking about a player and how he plays the deck and his skill level. It's more like, I know this guy. I know what
Yeah.
he's like when he's not on the camera. He's not on the feature match or anything.
Monica, Lorcana duo, top
Yeah.
16
Yeah.
in not Madison. The other where was the
Um.
first?
Oh my gosh. Richmond and
Where was the first
Milwaukee.
one? Milwaukee, that's it.
Yeah.
I always want to say Madison.
I know. I knew it started with an
Milwaukee,
M.
exactly. Milwaukee DLC, right? It's like
Yep.
I play locals with her. Like I've known Lorcana duo for almost longer than I've known any other Lorcana players. So it's just like, wow, top 16, getting there. I think that's the coolest, raddest thing of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy to see, especially with, like Monica and everything, to see the level of just general community support. When she made it to that point, it just exploded. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh," it was crazy. And to see so much of the community be so supportive of it, it really is a testament to like the strength of this community and the openness that it has for supporting basically anybody, it seems like.
Yeah. Shout outs Emperor's New Crew.
Yep.
ENC.
Yep. Nice. Yeah. Well, okay. So I won't ask you for your general favorite community moment because that's kind of wide open. So we'll leave it with the caster one. So, I mean, unless you have something that you can think of, but
At the last DLC, we talked about it a little bit, but I don't think it was super brought up. I think the picture was there though that blew up. There was just a mom with a baby in arm playing in the DLC.
Yeah.
Like
I
playing in
remember
the
that.
actual DLC, and it's just like that's so cool.
Yep.
That's just so cool to see. Like nobody had a problem with it. Like she felt comfortable enough to do that. Just what other card game are you going to see that? None.
Yeah. Nope.
Is the answer. Zero.
Nope.
Other card games.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing her, but I want to say there was another one that had a stroller as well, and they were like rocking the stroller, sitting at the edge of the table while they were playing. I was like, that's
in the main
crazy.
event. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's so cool. Like you said, it's amazing. It's great for the a good testament to the community to to say that that's acceptable, that that's okay for someone. It's like, yeah, we all love playing this game regardless of who you are and what your situation is. So and everybody's pretty accepting of it. So I want to look forward a little bit here. So do you have any events in the future, like the near future, that you're going to be casting?
Yes, I will be at the Citrus Clash in San Diego.
Okay.
I am highly excited about that. Citrus Clash San Diego. That's all I am allowed to talk about at the current moment.
Okay. Fair enough.
I guess I will say. Yeah. I don't think I'm allowed to talk about anything else as of right now. And it's it's not DLC related either. It's like another third party event that just hasn't made the big announce. But yeah. We'll see what the DLCs. I don't know. Last time I knew a couple months in advance, and I had already been planning on going to Richmond with my wife. So, knock on wood, maybe we get that call soon. But yeah, on that front, I probably won't know for another few weeks.
Yeah,
if indie is a thing or whatever. But yeah, there's another third party event that I can't wait to talk about. But I can't talk about it yet. But yeah, everybody get on down to the Citrus Clash, the first Infinity CCQ, I believe, happening in May. So come on down, get your practice. Still tickets available, I believe.
Yeah, I'll make sure and get all the information for that and put it in the notes and all that stuff so that
Please,
people
please
can,
do.
can get out there and enjoy another great community event. I'm so glad that they're doing all these like it seems like, at first there was the DLCs and that was kind of the major events, but then all these, the CCQs and the other local events, have just kind of popped up. And I feel like it's been like an amazing thing for the community to kind of fill in those gaps that since we only got the 3 DLCs for this season, here in the US at least,
Yeah.
to have more opportunities to get out there and play in these, higher level competitions that are, the step up from set champs and everything. But it's really cool to see people like, Rebecca with the Glimmer Games and the whole crew that did that one,
Yeah.
to like put
Shout
together
out to
these.
John. Yeah.
Yeah. To put together these like major events, that people can come to, and everybody seemed to have a great time at, and they just get together as a community and get to play and enjoy the game, and the community around it as well, without having to wait for like an official DLC kind of event to be able to do that. So, but yeah, I don't get to those as often as I like. I've been doing the DLCs, but being in Northwest Montana, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, doesn't really work very well for making it to a lot of those events. So
Yeah, I can imagine those plane tickets aren't cheap.
yeah, we basically don't have direct flights from our airport here. So everything's a layover,
Aye.
which it's not great, but
Yeah.
one of these days I will make it to more events. I keep telling myself that. So
Yeah, or maybe there's a CCQ that comes up in Montana. Who knows?
maybe, hey, if it's anywhere in Montana, you better believe I'm going to be there. So so I'm curious, as you're looking at the current crop of cards, when you're doing the casting and everything, has there been anything, like, I guess especially focused on Winterspell and some of the meta that's happening right now, has there been anything that really stuck out to you as, like, either as you were casting or as you were doing research about the decks and everything, that really stuck out as, like, oh, hey, this is really cool. I like, this combo, or I like this card being teched in for this particular situation, or, anything like that?
The wasabi stuff I thought was like really smart. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was DKP that might have coined that. The Amber Steel deck that shout out Sky, shout out Braden, shout out Habibi and some of the Amber Steel heads that were putting in the work. I think that it's pretty cool to see a new rogue deck sort of come out and be like, "Ooh, this has game into all of it." Um and then the Ruby Amber decks
Mm-hmm.
that Lucas Kalpa brought, which I thought was like, it looked really interesting, but it looked hyper complicated to me to play.
Yeah, I
Um
tried one of those. It was not easy.
it's the Lonely Grave stuff is like nutso, but like
Yeah.
the Ruby Amber deck that I cannot remember the name of the player who brought it, but he was one of the top 16 in the Glimmer Games, and I thought it was one of the most brilliant put together decks. It's very
Hmm.
intuitive once you kind of understand it. It works off of the Olafs that take away 2 lore. It's a 4/4 character, 9 cost
Oh
inkable that
yeah.
he costs 1 less for every action in your discard. And when you're boosting those Scrooges and you
Mm-hmm.
get like 1 or 2 Scrooges out there and you're boosting them several turns, there are times where you boost the Scrooge a few times. You boost 2 Scrooges a couple times, a bunch of actions go into your discard, and now this Olaf is basically free
Yep.
or free. Taking away some of the game from dogs, taking away a lot of the game from the go fast, and then you always have the Raging Storm board wipe
Mm-hmm.
with a few of Scrooge's counting house stuff. That's what I'm taking to set champs. I've been
Okay.
jamming in games of that because I used to love playing Ruby Amethyst, and it was strong enough that I could just commit to that deck for a while, and my thought process was get really strong at one deck. But
Mm-hmm.
once rotation happened and Ruby Amethyst wasn't a thing, I didn't really feel like switching over to Blurple. So I was just sort of in this like, okay, let me see what I'm gonna play. And last set after seeing Joshua Paltry, the Richmond, and watching his Sapphire Amber detectives with the genies and
Oh
all of
yeah,
that
that's right.
with the
Yep.
Nick Wilds, I was like sold. So I played that throughout all my set champs. Won a couple daisies with it. Thought that deck was fun. Now I'm gearing up towards playing rogue decks that look fun that I
Mhm.
that I can kind of master on my own. I think I've reached a level of play where I don't need a guide. I used to like feel like, oh, if I don't have a guide, I won't know what to alter for. I don't know what to do all this for. But what I've slowly realized is once I understand the meta as an entirety and what decks are trying to do and what cards are in what decks, I know immediately, okay, well, if I'm playing dogs, I can ink my Horseman Strikes because really the
Mhm.
only card is their Go-Go Tamago, right? Like, and that's probably not coming out that soon, right? So it's like there's all these things that my brain starts to understand as I get better at casting these games. I believe it's making me a better player and making me more intuitive at understanding certain lines with rogue decks, and that's
Mhm.
always the most fun to me is like playing something nobody's expecting. They're like looking at the card being like, what is this? That's that
The squint. The what is that?
Exactly. The
Yeah.
element of surprise is always fun, because it gives you an inherent edge. So that's my
Mhm.
favorite kinds of decks to play now. If there's another Ruby Amethyst style deck that I really want to just jam and get really good at, I think I would do it. But as far as it goes right now, Dogs, Blurple, Amethyst Steel, um, Amber Steel Songs just doesn't really tickle my fancy, as it were.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, tons of cool decks, and then of course, obviously, the guy who took it all in Glimmer Games with his purple steel,
Yep.
instant lore, the burn decks.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't get to catch any of the stream or anything, but yeah, I need to catch up more on what the decks were for that one. But it sounds like there were definitely some very interesting ones. But
They had to play in the top 16, the Ruby Amber and the burn deck.
oh, really?
I was brutalized. I was like, I want both of these guys to meet up in the finals. This is we got robbed in the
Yeah.
way that it got paired. But yeah, the two most rogue decks had to face each other in the first game of the top 16. And it was just like, no, I wanted to see Ruby Amber play more, but be what it be.
Yep. Yep. That's how it goes. So I'm curious, with all the events that you've been to, you've casted for, you've attended, all that kind of stuff. I guess kind of more focused on the DLC side of things. Um, what would you like to see in the future at some of these events? Is there any kind of, activities or improvements or things to consider to make, all these kinds of things better?
I just want more. I just want more DLCs. I want
Yep.
more. I want to see the game grow. I want to see more 4,000 people tournaments. I think that that's
Mhm.
really cool what they did in Ghent, and that they were able to fill it all. Um, more stuff for collectors and or casual players, right? Like the representation at the DLCs I think is pretty darn good, but these quest events that they're putting in there, right? Grab cards and to do the whole thing to get the beast and the bell over at Disneyland, like incorporate some of that into the DLC stuff, right? Um how to do that, your guess is as good as mine, but I
All it
just
takes
want
is
more.
money, right?
Yeah, I just want more, 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 all of it. I love this game. I love Ravensburger. I think that they're doing a phenomenal job with what they're doing. Um, and I will say I don't think that they get their flowers enough because I think that most of the time it's people wanting to poke holes and find the negatives of what's going on with it. But I think honestly they've done so far an incredible job of handling it all. So far be it from me to even venture out to like what more do I want?
It's an open wish list. You can say anything. It doesn't
I
have
would
to be
love
realistic.
I would love a sealed DLC. I think that would be fun, or a draft DLC.
That would be fun.
there's inherent issues with that though, because then it's so much more luck based than anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you pull 4 angels, you're probably gonna make it to the top cut.
yeah,
You
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so there's just inherent like luck based things that are gonna happen, but I don't know. I don't know. Like for everything that I could venture out and say, like there's anytime that I've said it before, people are like, "But have you considered this?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't actually," and that's why
Poking
I
those
don't
holes.
tournament organize.
Yep,
So
yep, yep. So let me turn it around a little bit. So what do you think from the the viewer perspective? If somebody's watching these streams and everything, is there anything that you would recommend improving on that side?
anything I would recommend improving on that side. I mean, I think they're killing it with the DLCs right now.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for some of the more, I don't want to call them third party DLCs, but I think what was it? Was it Singapore where it was like, all right, and we'll be right back with some more action coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like an hour and a half to 2
Yeah.
hours passes. Meanwhile, it's already really late over
Hmm.
here because of the nature of it. Like, a little more maybe a little more idea, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know what the internals are on that, but I got to imagine that because that there's got to be a reason why they're not the ones doing the production on that side of stuff. So,
Hmm.
as much as I would love to be like, well, they should make those as big as I have no idea what those logistics are, and I got to imagine that they're not like I just know how much red tape there is. Like
Yeah.
working for Ravensburger and also working for Disney as an actor, as a voice actor, I just know that there's plenty of red tape and weird like corporate like logistical things that I don't understand to this day. Like many people don't know. I've worked with Disney. I've done voices on not cartoons or any of that stuff, but like on the other side of it, like the corporate side of stuff, and
Hmm.
they were just like, you can never tell anybody what you did. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, but only for certain ones, but certain other ones it was like fine. So it's like,
It's like, what's the
who knows if it's
difference?
Ravensburger, who knows if it's Disney, who
Yeah.
knows if it's
Yeah.
some weird like tariff stuff is affecting international whatevers, who knows. But like, yeah, like I think people don't think about that stuff enough, but from
No.
a sheer basic level, it's just like, yeah, maybe let's not wait an hour and a half between matches.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be
Yeah.
awesome, but
Or maybe just
why
don't
and
say we'll be right back. Just, even just that maybe. But
yeah. I thought, you know what? I thought that those guys did a great job of
yeah. Yeah.
to in terms of like what the games were. So the live viewing experience, especially in somebody in an American time zone, yeah, maybe we can fill that up. Maybe we can put something in
Hmm.
other than that, but I don't know if that's an unrealistic ask because I don't know what the logistics are, So it's
Yeah.
like, sure, I can say that, but like, fill it up with this podcast in between.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Play this
Exactly.
podcast in between while we wait for the next thing. And
Yep.
even then I would rather, I don't know. I don't know. Just more content. That's really my thing. It's like
Yep.
I just love to see more content to fill in those holes. And I think that from last season, as somebody who watched most of the DLCs to this season, oh my gosh, what an improvement in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like so much less dead air, right?
Yep.
Of the "we'll be right back" screen. So I think that they're improving and doing all of this stuff right, and it's like all you can ask is for them to keep on improving and trying hard to improve. So
Yep.
yeah,
Well, and I think they do a pretty good job. It seems like of incremental improvements too. It's not like they're
exactly.
just like, yeah, it's good enough. We'll just keep doing the same thing. But Yeah, I mean, even just from Milwaukee to Richmond, seeing the Ravensburger booth, the Quest stuff, seeing them add that, as a step up for something else for people to do, and the Young Illumineers section, and they're making the improvements, so.
And I will
But
say this as somebody who was in the background, right? Getting a peek behind the curtain. These conversations are being had, and they like shout out production. What a thankless job. You really
yeah,
only notice it when something's going wrong. It's very rare in the chat that somebody is going, "Wow, what a smart commercial break," and they put in the preview of this thing, and I thought that was well done. You'll never see it. You'll never see a Twitch chat that
yeah,
commentates on the production side of stuff, right?
yeah,
But there are people working incredibly hard, and a lot of times they already understand the stuff. When people are saying, "Why don't we have this?" They're already working on it and trying to make it happen, and that's
yep,
I think that's a testament to greatness. Is there's something that's never gonna be perfect, but we can make incremental steps to get better and better each time, and
yep.
you just keep doing that. And soon you'll look up and everything's going to be awesome, even awesomer than it already is.
Yep, yep. There you go. Well, hey, Brent, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I've had a great time getting to talk with you and getting to know you and everything. So, I do want to end with the same 4 questions that I ask
Of
everybody.
course.
I provided you with these before, so hopefully you've got some answers all ready and loaded. So first one, favorite ink and card right now?
Amethyst, Merlin Rabbit. I mean, it's
Nice, classic.
the card from the very beginning that
Mhm.
it sucked me into Ruby Amethyst. I was like, this rabbit is awesome. So yeah,
Nice, nice. So if you had to say your favorite card, like by art, is there one that stands out for you?
Means No Worries Enchanted.
Okay, all right,
Easy.
that's a nice one.
Um,
I hadn't thought about that
it
one in a while.
is incredible. Just the fact that it's in the hand, it's a big circle. It's all my favorite characters. I mean, nothing
Mhm.
against Circle of Life Enchanted. I think that card slaps. But don't be sleeping. Don't be sleeping on It Means No Worries. That card is absolutely gorgeous.
That is nice. Yeah, I love. I could rant on and on about the Enchanteds and everything for the past couple of sets. So I won't get into that though. All right, favorite Disney movie and why? And you can't say Hoppers.
Aladdin. Aladdin. I mean, it's just all of the best. It's just I watched it at a formulative time of my life. I was like
Hmm.
3 or 4, and it had just come out, and I had the soundtrack, and it's all of it, right? It's action, it's adventure, it's romance, it's comedy. Genie is just like an iconic character. Like, um, maybe my favorite character in all of Disney, right? Like Robin Williams, rest in peace. What a guy
Hmm.
who could encompass all of it, right? All of the comedy and all of the heart too. Like, just an incredible film. Yeah, yeah, in my
Nice,
formative years.
nice. So I'm curious what you thought of the remake.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay, all
A
right.
lot of people said don't see it. So I said,
It,
you know what? I'm fine. There's enough other media out there. There's so many good movies and TV shows, man. You got to
oh yeah,
pick carefully. And if people are like, then I'm like, all right, that's
yeah,
enough. I'll just go watch something else.
yeah. It's good, but it's definitely different. So I'll say that. Yeah, sounds like pretty much what you've been hearing as well.
Yeah. I
Yep.
will say this. I did love the musical. I have seen the musical. I thought it was
Okay.
very fun.
Nice. Nice. All right. Third thing, not really a question, but so give a shout out to some of your favorite LGSs.
Oh, yo, Fire and Dice, Bear Cave, shout out, Top Choice Gaming, DL, what up? Um, I mean, the list goes on. I've played it a whole bunch, but I mean, those guys tapped out gaming. We gotta hit up Santa Clarita every once in a while. I'm going to play at Emerald Knights this weekend because Geeky Tees was full up, right? The Olympus Project, Goons, Zach, Kevin.
Yeah.
They started their own thing. They're out there
Nice.
making it happen. I gotta respect it. Love those guys. Frank's Collectible Show is not an LGS, but it's where some of my faves are. Shout out again, Zach. Shout out Nigel. Um, yeah, I think that's a pretty good amount.
Yeah, that's a good list. I'll make sure and get all the information about all these and everything, so that
Sweet
people
deal.
can find more in the area. All right, and last but not least, tell people where they can find you. And I know you do some Instagram content, and maybe some of your voice acting stuff, all that kind of good stuff.
I am at Brent Mukai, BrentMukai, across all social media, except for YouTube, where I also have a channel called Brent Mukai Lorcana.
Nice. Well, very cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much. I like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I had fun. Just one of the joys of my life is to be able to sit down and get to talk to folks like you. So, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. So,
Thank you for having me, man. This was fun. It was nice. Sometimes you just gotta sit and chat, just see what's going on.
Yep, absolutely.
This was fun for me. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, we'll see you around the community.
Sounds great.
Well, I really enjoy getting to sit down and getting to know about Brent and some of his experience both with Lorcana and outside of the game. If you like the show, make sure to subscribe, rate, or like the show in your platform of choice. If you'd like to reach out to the show, you can find us on all the socials at Inkwell Lounge, or you can find a full list of links at inkwelllounge.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.